Rachel Dawson had never been late to a flight in her life until this morning. Drenched from the unexpected spring rain and half running through JFK Airport with a laptop bag swinging wildly on one shoulder, she barely made it to Gate 47. Her heart pounded not just from the sprint, but from the weight of everything she carried. The last-minute job interview she barely managed to land in London. The stress of being laid off 2 months ago, and the crushing realization that her savings were thinning fast. She handed the boarding pass to the gate agent, who scanned it with a polite but distracted nod. "Seat 14B, the agent muttered. Rachel barely heard it as she rushed onto the jet bridge. Inside the plane, flustered and slightly embarrassed, she found the row and slid into what she thought was her middle seat. A man in the aisle seat looked up from a tablet, his navy suit unwrinkled, his posture calm. He looked like someone used to first-class lounges and silent boardrooms, not the cramped chaos of economy. He gave her a polite nod and went back to reading. It was only when a woman approached with a slightly puzzled smile that Rachel realized something was wrong. "Excuse me?" the woman said gently. "I think you might be in my seat." Rachel looked down at her ticket and realized with a sinking feeling she was supposed to be in one for C, the aisle seat across from this one. "Oh gosh, I'm so sorry," she mumbled, mortified, gathering her things and half standing. But before she could move, the man beside her spoke. "It's all right," he said calmly, closing his tablet. "Why don't we just switch?" "Only a short flight?" Rachel looked at him, surprised. "Are you sure I don't mind moving?" He smiled, not the kind of forced professional smile you give to strangers, but something warmer. "Really? It's no trouble." The woman gave him a grateful nod and took the seat in 14C. Rachel, still slightly flustered, settled back into her accidental seat, now her real seat, thanks to a stranger's kindness. It should have ended there, but as the flight took off and the hum of the engine filled the cabin, a conversation began. It started small: weather, travel, the usual airport complaints. Then it went deeper. The man, whose name was Evan, asked about her trip. She told him, almost offensively, that she was heading to London for a job interview. "I was laid off," she added, laughing nervously. "You know how tech startups are. 1 minute you're employee number 25, the next you're an expense." Evan listened without interrupting. He didn't rush to fill the silence or turn the conversation. To himself, when he finally spoke, his words surprised her. "Funny," he said. "I'm on this flight because I'm meeting someone to take over our London expansion. We've been searching for months. Talent's hard to find when you're looking for more than just a resume." Rachel looked at him, her curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we're not just hiring for skills. We're looking for the kind of person who still believes in people, who values kindness, resilience. Someone who shows up even when the odds aren't ideal." He said it without any pretense, but something about his tone gave Rachel pause. She felt like there was more to him than he was letting on. "Are you ... in HR or something?" she joked. Evan chuckled. "Not exactly." The flight continued. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Rachel dozed off briefly, her head resting slightly toward Evan's side. She woke up apologizing again, but he just smiled and said, "Get all the rest you can. You'll need it for your interview." It wasn't until they landed and passengers stood to retrieve their luggage that Evan handed her his business card. She read the embossed print and froze. "Evan L. Carter, CEO, Loomtech Solutions." Her breath caught. Loomtech. One of the very companies she'd dreamed of working for, but never dared apply to. She looked up, stunned. Why didn't you say anything?" He shrugged. "Sometimes it's nice to talk to people without them knowing what you do. Makes the conversation more honest." She stared at the card, then at him. "Do you really think someone like me? I think someone who shows up soaked and late, but still makes strangers. Smile on a plane is exactly the kind of person I'd want on my team," he said. Her eyes welled up. She hadn't cried in weeks, maybe, because she hadn't had the time or the space. But now something broke gently open. He smiled again, this time warmer. "Call me when you get to London." As he stepped off the plane and disappeared into the crowd, Rachel stood motionless in the aisle, her heart pounding not from panic this time, but from something deeper. Hope. Rachel stood outside the towering glass office building, watching the way sunlight refracted off the windows like 1,000 tiny mirrors. Her reflection stared back at her creased blazer, secondhand heels, a resume tucked into a folder that was starting to wrinkle. She exhaled slowly. It had been 3 days since she landed in London. 3 days since that surreal moment on the plane. 3 days since Evan Carter handed her his business card and walked away like he hadn't just restructured her entire idea of fate. She hadn't called right away. "Hi, remember me from 1 for B. I drooled on your shoulder while flying across the Atlantic. I'd love a job." Still, that tiny card sat in her wallet like a secret door, and today she'd finally decided to knock Dot inside. The receptionist greeted her with a warm smile. "You must be Ms. Dawson," she said. "Mr. Carter is expecting you." Rachel blinked. "He's what?" Before she could even respond, the woman led her to a sleek elevator with glass walls. As it rose, Rachel's stomach tightened. Every floor. It felt like a heartbeat. Her mind cycled through doubts. What if he'd just been polite? What if he forgot? What if this was all a misunderstanding and she was about to humiliate herself? But when the elevator doors slid open, there he was, Evan Carter, standing in a sunlit corner office, sipping coffee, wearing the same calm expression he had on the plane. "You made it," he said, setting down the mug. "I almost didn't," she admitted, stepping inside. "I wasn't sure if I imagined the whole thing." He gestured to a chair across from him. "You didn't. Sit." She sat, clutching the folder in her lap like armor. "I Googled you," she said. "Might mean, not in a creepy way. I just wanted to be sure you were real." Evan chuckled. "I get that a lot." There was a pause just long enough for Rachel to wonder if she was supposed to launch into a pitch or sell herself, or explain why she deserved a chance. But Evan leaned back and asked, "Tell me the hardest thing you've ever done." Rachel blinked. "In life, in anything." She thought for a moment, then spoke. "I once stayed with a friend in the hospital for 3 days straight. She was alone, no family, no one else. I didn't know what to say, but I figured being there was better than her being alone." Evan nodded slowly. "You didn't have to do that." "No," Rachel said, "but it felt like the only right thing." "It's what I wanted to hear," he said. She furrowed her brow. "What do you mean?" "Told you on the plane we're looking for more than credentials. Your resume says you're a decent developer, but who you are says you're a leader. The kind we need." Rachel's mouth went dry. "Is this a job interview?" "It's a conversation," Evan said. "The kind we don't have enough of in business." He leaned forward, resting his arms on the desk. "Here's the deal. We've got a role in the new London office project lead. It's not glamorous, and it won't make headlines. But it'll put you at the center of building something that matters." She felt her pulse in her fingertips. "There's one catch," he added. Of course there was. "You'll have to assemble a team yourself from scratch. We'll give you tools. You bring the heart." Rachel's voice caught. "Why me?" Evan gave her a look so steady, so clear, that it made her chest ache. "Because you sat in the wrong seat on a plane and, instead of complaining, you were kind. Because you told a stranger your truth without pretension. Because you listen more than you speak. And because people like you, humble, driven, real, are exactly who this industry needs." Tears blurred her vision, but she smiled anyway. "I'd love the job." Evan stood and extended his hand. "Then welcome to Loomtech." As she walked out of the building an hour later, Rachel didn't feel like the same woman who'd arrived. She felt taller, somehow lighter. Like life had finally said yes after so many closed doors. 3 months later, London office hummed with life. Rachel sat at a long conference table with her newly assembled team, 5 people, each with their own winding story of second chances and quiet resilience. They weren't from Ivy League schools. Some had taken detours through single parenthood, failed startups, or just plain bad luck. But they were brilliant, and they were building something that mattered. One day, while walking down the corridor, she passed Evan, who had just flown in for a quick meeting. He nodded at her with that same quiet approval. "It's like a teacher proud of a student who figured out the answer on their own, by the way," said, turning back for a second. "That seat on the plane? I usually book the aisle." But that day, I changed last minute. Something told me I should. Rachel smiled. Then I guess we both sat in the wrong seats. He grinned. Or the right ones. Epilogue. A note to you. The reader sometimes the smallest choices. Missing a train. Grabbing the wrong seat. Saying yes when everything says no can change. Everything, not because the universe owes us magic, but because kindness is its own. It's kind of gravity. And when we show up for others, life finds a way to show up for us.